You can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've noticed that my mind is always being very active, which during meditation is a blessing because it's easy to detect how chaotic and crazy it is because it just a thought absorbs you. And then very often, more than half of the times, it leads to um, a negative experience towards myself. Like you could have done that better, or you could. It's almost always punishing me in a way, which before I didn't notice. During daily life, though, you're completely absorbed, especially if you have a very active mind, a very jumpy mind, a very ADD, like undiagnosed ADD. I'm very jumpy. Now I start understanding when people go to therapy and stuff, they're trying to get rid of like it's a instead of seeing all the thoughts as a dream, they just go and like, oh, why is this negative voice talking? They're doing whatever uh, ways to observe that thought, but it could be a bad or a good thought. It's always just a movie, which means nothing. It's very clear to see during meditation. During daily life, it's not, which I'm working on establishing more in the daily life, more of my practice. My question is it possible to, I know in Buddhism they have something like labeling thoughts. Is that something that you, what do you think about it? Like when I see a thought, should I just label it first? That gives me that space because most of the times it just absorbs me without me seeing it, and then it goes a whole wave of different thoughts, different emotions. Why did you do that? And it's at a very subtle level that before I wasn't noticing, but now I notice. So what would you suggest to widen the space? Just practice. Obviously, this is what we need to do daily. But is there anything else that can help widen this space so I don't need to be absorbed right away? What do you think?
When that type of thinking, when that type of thinking arises, you find yourself unable to just like lose interest and drop.
No, because it's so important. Every thought is so important. And then it
Why
goes in a
why
wave.
is it important, you know? Because
Uh,
now that you have realized the conceptual nature of thought, now that you have realized it's just endless stories running and running, and that it is not you, and that it doesn't really say anything of truth or value, why does it feel important?
because it brings some anxiety of things being undone. It's always something that I need to do. Almost every thought for me is something I need to take care of or do. And it gives a very subtle anxiety, which like, oh shit, yeah. And then it takes me. And then as soon I don't have the space. During meditation, the same thoughts come. There's that space where I can give it, okay, I see it. But during daily life, they just keep coming and coming. And then this is done. I took care of that. Then the next one comes and it just doesn't give me that space. Like waves keep coming. And then you cannot take a breath. Yeah. So yeah,
So you see, like during the day, right? I know we're performing action and there's things to be done, but it's like I don't know if I would suggest doing this whole labeling process, you know, because it just adds another additional layer of mental activity that is not really needed. However, if you find just dropping it difficult, you can test it out. Like, have you tested it out before?
Yeah.
Because test it out and see if it actually brings you to a place of, just silence, or if it just becomes thinking about thinking.
I know how to drop it, but it needs to be a very important thing. Like if it's something if it's an important thought and I'm able to drop it, that's gonna show me something. But that requires a little bit of a trust and being brave. And again, it doesn't like brave in a
Build that trust. That trust is more valuable than this whole labeling process because I think that is that trust which allows you to fully let go of thought. And in that trust lies like the understanding that what needs to be done will get done. What needs to happen will happen. What needs to be remembered at a later time will be remembered. I think the more you develop that trust, the less you feel like thinking is holding everything together. And I would say that is one of actually the stickiest components of this whole mind identification thing, that like it feels like thinking is holding life together. And then like this constant thinking is what is doing everything. And so then you have this whole idea of important thoughts. Other than like the actual, when if you just, when you're actually like solving a critical problem and you're just sort of thinking about things, other than that, there's really no important thought. Like you should be able to, let's say, when you're not performing any activity and you're just sitting and you have maybe like a quiet few minutes of the day, you should be able to not care about anything thoughts have to say in that moment. If you are so bullied by these important thoughts, it means like, like there isn't that trust. Like you feel like you need to think in order to accomplish all of these things. So I would say that building that trust is far more valuable than this constant labeling process of like, oh, that thought, this thought. It's like let go. What needs to be done will be done when it needs to be done. And even if it's not, like, find this I found it helpful to just like find this okayness within myself that like even when something important it doesn't get done, it's like see if you could still be okay with that. It's like that's where the word develop, this trust is surrender. This trust is surrender, that like everything happens on its own and everything will happen when it needs to happen, as it needs to happen through you, right? Like, but we're just like letting go of this constant thinking activity that feels like the orchestrator of experience. And then like, so yeah, practice those moments where there's no such thing as important thoughts. The whole notion of an important thought is a thought made idea. It is just not true.
Almost like an important dream. Like, oh, this was very important dream, but it's still just
No, there's no such
it's a
thing,
bubble.
really.
Yeah.
It's all personal ideas. Like I mean, all ideas from the personal premise. Really, there's no thought that is important in truth. And there's nothing in your life that can happen or not happen that is of such importance that you need to keep thinking about it. Like give that over to life.
Yeah,
It's like
it's very
it's like you're delegating all these responsibilities over to life. Not that it will just things will happen to you, but it's like whatever needs to happen through you will happen, even though you're not constantly thinking about it. And that's a weight lifted off your shoulders, but like that leap of faith has to be taken.
mm, yeah, because it almost feels that if I don't do it, like I'm under the impression, which I start to realize it's not true, but the impression that if I don't do it, it's not going to be done. If I don't want to build my life the way I want it, it's not going to be done. So that's why it follows up to those thoughts that kick in, and then me taking action or emotion, you know, because I'm under the impression that I'm orchestrating everything. Because from past events, if I look in past events, if I didn't do that, it wouldn't have been done, and nobody else going to do it for me. So it's a tricky, because this is a false understanding, but it's very engraved, very deep in me. Like
Nobody's
this
going
is
to do
where
things
the
for you. Nobody's going to do anything for you. But even the things you think you are doing, life is doing them. That's all. That's the only reason you find yourself doing these things and engaged in these things. All the things you've ever done, the desire to do them, the energy and the intelligence to perform them has come to you. You didn't do anything to get it. You may say, I'm more motivated than someone else. That motivation you didn't do anything to get. That motivation also only came because whatever was meant to be done was meant to be done. So this is where you start to see like everything I have is on rental from life. Like I don't make these things happen. They are bestowed to me. Like that's why I say it's like when we surrender, when we let go of this whole conviction that I am the doer of my life, it's not like life is no longer being done anymore. Nothing changes. It's just this burden is lifted, and this whole notion of constant thinking to maintain life starts to wither away. they still like whatever is meant to be done in your life will be done through you. Like the motivation that you need to do things, the intelligence that you need to perform actions, it comes to us, but it doesn't need to constantly be thought about. That thinking is what's polluting all of that actually. And it's also for like keeping us back from going deeper into the recognition of our true nature because right if you keep thinking you are the doer of your life, you will have a strong investment in what you want to achieve and what your life must look like. And then that will keep thinking so sticky. As you said, like during the day, it will just dominate you, right? And it's like it leaves little to no space to really explore yourself. So that's why like surrender melts this whole complication.
Mhm.
So
And the
really
prac
no such thing as important thoughts.
and the practice basically is as soon as the thought kicks in, before the emotion comes, because for me, very often it comes with an emotion. After that, in this little space, in this little time, to be able to step back, trust, and fall into awareness. That's basically, with practice, this becomes easier. Just that process of just step, because I know during meditation where I reside, and it's a good place. It feels good. It feels good physically as well. Mentally, physically, it feels like openness. It feels great. So I know how to get there. It's just trying to do it during tough moments, basically,
Yeah,
or
though that
difficult
those are
moments.
the most powerful moments to practice this in.
Hmm.
Anytime thinking arises, when whatever it says, instead of being so interested in the content of it, noticing what is seeing that thinking,
Hmm.
right? What knows? That's why the question is, who am I? What sees these thoughts appear and pass? So we are interested in this direction. So thoughts speak about the world, right? Like what is outside. We are interested now in the inward direction, the one who knows thoughts and what they say. So either you can be interested in just what thoughts are saying, or you can be interested in noticing what sees them. The moment you notice what sees thoughts, right, that is self awareness because I see thoughts coming and going. When I notice what sees thoughts, that is a self awareness now. I'm aware of myself. I am aware that I am aware. And that is a thoughtless recognition. So that is the silence we need to dwell in. That silence reveals our true nature. And to access that more frequently, the path is surrender. Because otherwise, these thoughts will just have their way with us, you know?
And it almost feels like stepping out, right? It's almost feel like go behind. That's how it
Yes,
feels
go
to me.
behind. It's like
Yeah.
pause the whole
Mhm.
game of life. Stop strategizing. Stop conceptualizing. Stop planning moves.
Mhm.
Stop being a person. Of course, it's that we build this strength in meditation in our sit down practice, but in the day to day life, it is also like equally accessible. Just a moment of pause. Stop being a person. Stop caring about your life. Stop, stop needing something to happen. Stop needing other people to behave a certain way. Just have no demands or expectations of experience for a moment in order to recognize the awareness in which this entire experience is appearing. Because everything here will pass, you won't. So we are interested in that which does not change. That is myself. And so in that, there lies an intelligence that is taking care of your entire life. Surrender yourself to it. Everything that needs to happen will happen. And then you'll need to think less and less because, like, right now, this belief that thinking is controlling life, it keeps making a lot of thinking happen. And most of it is really just useless. So, yeah, make it a practice. The more important thoughts feel in that moment, try to practice a few moments of letting them go entirely, noticing the seer. When we can let go of thoughts, even when they feel important, that's a really good practice for us,
Mhm.
in the face of that thought claiming to be important, let it go. And then you little by little see that, hey, things still happen. It doesn't hinder your action in any way. So that develops that trust.
Mhm. Very clear.
Yeah.
Thank you.